Hey there, thanks so much for joining us today. My name is Ann Perry, and I'm a professional numerologist, and I'm going to be talking with Susan Saucier, spiritual life coach today, about what's coming up in May of 2022. So it's fair to say that April of 2022 was giddy up and go time. This month, we're going to be asking you to sit back, be the observer, maybe sit in the back seat for a little while. Stay tuned. We're going to teach you all about what's coming up in May of 2022. Okay, so let's get right to it. Hey, how are you, Susan? Good to see you.
I'm doing great. It's great to see you too, Anne.
Oh, awesome. Likewise. Yeah, this is going to be quite a powerful month, don't you think?
It is definitely going to be a powerful month.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, 2022, we know holds those three twos, right? So the energy of the two is related to sensitivity. Oh my God. I don't know about you guys, but sensitivity has been at an all-time high. The three twos add up to the six, which relates to a little bit of focus on the domestic side of life. So sometimes the domestic drama or the work drama, that kind of stuff comes up. Sometimes it's inherited beliefs that we've got, that relate to our families, and sort of that collective energy that we brought with us from our parents and all of our ancestors. All that's coming up. I know, I personally went through a bit of drama this past month, related to some triggers, family triggers and such that had to be dealt with. So it's not impossible. If I can get through it, you guys can, right? Very successful ending to it, but it's a little rough when you're going through it. And so I want to say that for May, May is the fifth month, and 2022, when we had 2 + 0 + 2 + 2 = 6. Add the 6 to May, that comes up to an 11. So not only do we have the three twos in 2022, we've got the totality of the 6, which relates to responsibility and perfectionism and judgment and balance and all those things related to the 6. But now we're going into an 11 universal month. So whenever we see an 11 at play, we know that this is about illumination. This is going to make everything look brighter. Okay, you're going to see things more clearly. It's when spirit grabs your head and hauls it out of the sand, says, hey, you got to look around. You have to see this. They grab the blinders and they rip them off and say, hey, you can't hide from this anymore. You have to see it. Okay. So as I said, 2022 is related to how we're dealing with people, one-on-one relationships. Are we judging them? Are we able to accept them for who they are? Is this going to be, this is a year when we need to look at people for where they are at their point of their own personal evolution. So whenever we pass judgment on somebody, it's usually because there's something about ourselves that we don't like very much. And so we'll sort of project that onto somebody else. This is not the month to be doing that. In fact, I would suggest if you can avoid, the large group dynamics this month, I probably would, because sensitivity is going to be an all-time high. Susan reminded me that we've got a Mercury retrograde coming up starting on the 10th, I believe you said, of May. And so that's going to cause communication to be at an all-time strain, right? So, this can be a really, really good month for taking a look at people for who they are, spending time with them, really listening to them. It's not a time to go after. This is the year, this is the month to receive, where last month was the month to push, to plant your seeds, to get a vote. This is the year to kind of, this is the month to nurture things. Okay. So it's a time to listen. It's time to tap into your intuition. It is a big, big influence of tapping into the divine, whatever that means to you, whether it's God or it's Christ or it's Gaia or it's Mother Earth or it's whoever, it doesn't matter. Buddha, I don't care. Doesn't matter, but you have to find a way to tap in to spirit and to really follow heart energy. This is not a time to be trapped in your head. If you're a 1 or a 5 or a 7 life path number, you tend to be thinkers. So for you, it's going to be a little bit more of a challenge to drop into your heart center, to make those decisions based on how you feel. This is really going to be a month about tuning into how you feel. It's going to be recognizing when you need to set boundaries, right? And when you're setting a boundary, you might think that it's, to keep somebody away, but really what it's doing is it's honoring you. When you set a boundary, you're choosing you. You're choosing to honor you. Nobody will honor you unless you choose to honor yourself. And something I've learned as a result of learning how to set boundaries, because I wasn't very good at it for a very long time, and I'm still kind of a boundary newbie. But I find that when I set a boundary, it's teaching others that it's okay for them to do the same. And in the case of my family and my children, when I teach them, when I show them that I'm setting a boundary, I'm teaching them how to do it at the same time. So it's not as bad as everybody thinks. You know, oh God, what happens if I set a boundary and they reject me, kind of thing. And this is a big fear with this 2 energy, is rejection, because the 2 is one of 2, right? We need partnership during this energetically sensitive time. But setting boundaries is actually a really great way to set the table, to say, you know, this is the line that can't be crossed. We're going to be okay if you don't cross this line. But if people don't know the line exists, right, they're going to cross it. So it's up to us to set the boundary to keep the relationships going in a healthy way. So it's going to be about balance. It's going to be about trying to find harmonious relationships. It's great. It would be a great month to start a relationship, to be very focused on that one-on-one. But we're going to be looking for harmony. We're going to be looking for Zen. We're going to be looking for a little bit of time out, a little bit quiet time. We're going to be tired collectively. We are all going to be a little tired because, you know, last month was go, 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 go. And this month they're saying, no, sit back, get in the timeout chair, you know, rest, restore. Because when we move into June, we're going to be looking at a whole different energy where it's going to be more go time. Okay, so we want to make sure that we're allowing ourselves to rest a little bit. When people are making big demands on you to get together in big groups and such, it's going to be emotionally charged, because everybody on the planet, regardless of where they are in their numerological charts or astrological charts, everybody is going to be under the influence of this somewhat sensitive energy, right? So you know that going in. So maybe monitor when you do these things, you know, and just be aware that people are really triggered right now, really triggered. So I've caught myself doing this over the weekend. I was in a social thing and I said something to somebody and I thought, damn, you know, I could have maybe tempered that a little bit. I could have shown a little bit more diplomacy maybe. And I felt really badly about it. So I had to correct it after the fact, because I am very acutely aware of how people are feeling right now. And I could see that it wasn't received very well. So becoming your own observer is going to be important. So, so be careful with judgment, maintain some balance, make sure that you are seeing both sides to a situation rather than jumping in to defend your position or whatever. Pause and take a look at both sides. Okay. Take a breath. Breathing is going to be important next month. Oxygen is good, apparently. So it's really going to be about developing a relationship with the divine, but also developing a healthier relationship with yourself. Okay, making sure that you're putting yourself first. You got to fill that cup. If you plan on spilling that cup out over somebody else to help them and support them in some way, you have to fill that cup first, right? So the 2 energy relates to moon energy, which is all about the emotional side of life, which I'm sure Susan will expand on a little bit better. It's related to water. Water is about the emotions, right? So you can expect it will be an emotional time. So you want to be doing whatever feels right for you. You've heard me say it, and I'm going to say it again. Try to eliminate that word think from your vocabulary, because when you say I think, you're tapping on the door up here and you're asking for the opinion of your ego. You're just basically knocking on the door going, hey, I want to think something. And the ego's like, I can't wait to mess you up. I can't wait to get you all confused. So we want to make sure that you're tapping on the heart, right? So try to eliminate the word think, try to include the word feel, try to step back and see everything from everybody else's perspective and see if we can release that need for judgment, because the judgment really isn't against them. You're basically punishing yourself when you're judging another. I did pull a card earlier, the card that came up in terms of what we need to be aware of for this particular month is this one. Comes up as self-love, and it's interesting that it's a 6 and a 1. Now, I just said to you, you know, you've got to take care of yourself. That's number 1. You got to take care of number 1. That's you. And the 6, of course, is learning how to nurture. It's learning how to be balanced. It's learning how to drop the need for judgment and perfectionism, right? So I found it really interesting that this particular card came up. Susan, what say you?
Well, I think it's always amazing, as I say every time, how they all connect. But wow, I almost want to, the emotions are going to be so intense that it makes me want to cry just thinking about it because that's where we're going for May. First I want to give you the important dates, which I know, we're talking about May, but I have to put in that April 30th is the solar eclipse new moon, which is in Taurus. So since we're just stepping right into May 1st after that, you're going to feel it. Whenever it's 48 hours before or after, you're going to feel the potency of that. So, what is a solar eclipse in Taurus? Well, eclipses that are solar eclipses are doors opening and brand new chapters, new beginnings, exciting opportunities. So it sounds fun. It sounds exciting, like there's all this new stuff coming. And as Anne mentioned, in April, it was go, go, go. So we're still kind of piggybacking off of that as we enter into the beginning of May, and we're feeling it. It's a good time, though, to remember, because we are now in eclipse season, that you want to go with the flow. Not fighting against it or pushing against it. So since we're in Taurus now, it is all about self-worth. It's what are your values, and what talents and skills can you use to apply to help others in the world, tapping into yourself. It's going to be important to ground. It's an earth sign, so you want to get out there and ground often and frequently. So, and it can also relate to, if we're talking about the solar eclipse in a positive way and new beginnings and new exciting things, it can be things to do with financial matters, ownership of things, and all of that, which is all good. So you do want to make sure you do tap into the self-care, as you mentioned, really nurture yourself. All of that applies. So then we go into May 16th, which is going to be the lunar eclipse, and that's going to be in a full moon in Scorpio. So here's where we get intense, right? Yeah, it's getting deep. The emotions are so deep. I mean, Scorpio is all about transformation and rebirth, and lunar eclipses are very, very intense, and they can happen really, really fast and sudden. It can be endings, breakdowns, breakups, closures, final resolutions to things that can be actually in a positive way. But for the most part, it's usually very intense and unexpected. It can be very, very, very emotional. You're also going to be feeling, I would say, this half of the month, the last half of the month, is very intuitive, and you might notice synchronicities and all kinds of things like that. Pay attention to them, and also to whatever's coming up to the surface, because it's coming up for a reason. Believe me, it's not fun to feel these deep feelings, and a lot of us are really good at putting them on the shelf, going, I'll deal with it later. But later is coming. Later is here right now. It's coming in May, so it's almost like we're giving you the heads up. Again, as Anne mentioned, May 10th is when Mercury does go retrograde till June 3rd, and that is the first half of it's going to be in the sign of Gemini, then it bounces back into Taurus. So you will see lots of communication problems, and that's going to be so big, especially in a 2-month. As you said, like, how are you speaking and communicating with other people? We already know that when we're in Gemini. We already know it in Mercury retrograde. However, we're in a month of that too, so it's intense. And then we're adding, again, I'm reminding you of the Scorpio energy in the lunar eclipse. That's right around that same time frame. So just having that heads up should give you an indication of how you can prepare. I wouldn't book anything major during this time. I would definitely make sure you're being prepared to, as you mentioned, and as well, to not judge and not have all these opinions coming up. Catch yourself, because that's kind of another lesson you're learning too. And Mercury retrograde is all about review and reflect, and what can you think about that you want to do differently going forward. So it does slows down the time so that you can sit with it and learn from it and grow from it. That's the whole purpose, is what can you do, as you mentioned, getting closer to divine and getting closer to who you are, why you're here in this lifetime. What did you come here to learn and grow? If you're putting it all away and not dealing with it, you're not using all the gifts that you've been given, because the gift of understanding how you can fix something and how you can help yourself and help others is a big part of that, on this planet. So it is still in the beginning of the month a good time to manifest. So you want to pay attention to that, because like I said, the new moon and the solar eclipse are all about pushing the new beginnings and all of that fun stuff. But once we hit mid-month, it is going to feel like you're in the eye of a hurricane. It might be swirling chaos all around you. So it's going to be important to just ground yourself and, remember that everything is being stirred up so that you can learn from it, understand it, process it, acknowledge it, and grow from it.
I learned when I was away that I had to feel it in order to heal it.
Yeah.
Right. And so when that boil kind of comes to the surface, and when you're starting to feel triggered, like I didn't realize how triggered I was by certain things. But when I realized it and I could address it with diplomacy, and I stepped away and I didn't allow myself to explode. I just kind of stepped away, went back to the person and said, hey, let's just choose to agree to disagree. I'm going to respect your opinion, and I'm hoping that you'll respect my opinion. And we're going to be okay. But you can't deny what my feelings are, and I can't deny what your feelings are. So people just need to be validated big time right now. Really, really important to be validated. So when it comes up, when that trigger comes up, if you stuff it back down again, it's coming back to get you, right? It's coming back. So we want to make sure that you look at when the gems come up, it's like, yes, finally it surfaced. Let's deal with this crap and get on with it. These are good things.
Yes, get it over and done with. And then at the end of the month, we do have a new moon on May 30th in Gemini. So, that's a good time too, to just prepare for that, which is going to be, since we're still going to be a little bit in that retrograde, it still might have a little bit of issues with communicating, but you're going to feel more like you want to get out and communicate and socialize. It's a good time for writing if you're very creative and coming up with things like that. But overall, on the astrological portion of this, like we said, it just completely combines with the numerology aspects of it. And really, like you said, setting boundaries too, learning what your boundaries are. If you're not honoring them, why is anyone else going to honor them, right? You have to, and do them with respect as you would expect them. It's kind of one of those months where how you want to be treated is how you should be treating others, and vice versa, right?
Yeah.
Just put it all in.
We're always teaching people how to treat us.
Right. By how we treat ourselves too, right? If we let everyone walk all over us, well, then why are we complaining? We have to put a stop to it, right? That kind of thing.
More often we teach people how to treat us based on what we choose not to say. Because what we choose not to say, if someone is annoying us or taking advantage of us and we're not addressing it, we've more or less told them that it's okay.
Exactly.
And they can get away with it. And you've basically set the table to say, oh, this person doesn't respect themselves enough to hold me accountable. So I can take advantage of them wherever I want. And they didn't say anything at all, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I did pull a card too. Maybe it will help with all the drama and chaos that might come up. It is from Archangel Michael, and it's detached from the situation. And it says, Archangel Michael, I ask you to use your flaming sword to cut away any attachment or fear or drama, so that I may be centered to the knowingness that peace is everywhere within me and the situation. So that is the card right there.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I think that's really important to remember, that everything is in divine order. We are exactly where we need to be. We're experiencing exactly what we need to experience, as tough as that can sound to a lot of people who are going through a challenging time. But there's always something to learn from it. It would not be put in front of us if we didn't ask to learn it.
Exactly.
And again, some people will call me out and say, oh, I've been abused. Do you think I asked for the abuse? No, you don't ask for abuse. You don't ask for neglect. You don't ask for punishment. But you may have in your soul's contract written in the need to learn things like self-respect and tolerance and patience and forgiveness and all the things that go into recovering from bad behavior that you've experienced. So there's always a lesson in everything. And rather than being the victim of it, become the observer.
Yes.
Become less involved. Like, your card says become detached, and that's exactly what needs to happen, so that you can actually be the unaffected observer.
Right.
And you can look at it without judgment.
Exactly. And not detached in the point of where we're shoving it back down again, but detaching from the situation so that you don't, as you mentioned earlier in your situation, don't explode. Just detach yourself, take a moment, review it, reflect, look on it, and take ownership, because there's a lot of times where you want to blame the other person, and this is a month where you're going to want to take ownership of where you could be, doing something a little different. Where can you compromise? Where can you, do things a little differently as well? It's not always the other person. Everyone's involved. And another aspect too is to remember to say, what am I supposed to be learning from this, and be willing to accept it. And then, wouldn't you rather get all your coursework done when you were in college and then know you can go out and play? So it's kind of like that. Let's get it all done, get it out of the way so that I can move on.
I think also the one thing I just feel inspired to say is be careful on social media too, because you will read messages, you'll read posts, you'll read memes and whatnot. And it's very common, because the energy is just like this right now. It's very common to be very reactionary to things. And I feel that, the more that we're on social media, the more that we're sitting there endlessly, scrolling through things and whatnot, we get very numb. So we're a little bit out of touch as to what's really going on.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a post this morning. Somebody I know on Facebook posted a picture of someone being pushed into an ambulance. And this was how, and she was saying, oh gosh, we can't cut a break. Our family's always burdened with stuff and blah, blah, blah. And yet she, in the middle of a crisis, she took out her cell phone and took a picture of this person being put into an ambulance. And I'm like, you are really out of touch. Like really out of touch. And I didn't want to be, I was trying not to be judgmental, because I thought, geez, I'd be upset too. But the need to take it and to put it up on Facebook, it felt so disconnected to me. It just felt like, oh wow, like she has become so involved in this.
Right. In the victim mode too, it sounds
Well,
like.
in the victim mode, yeah, but also in this world that thinks that every friend you have on Facebook really gives a crap. You know what I mean? And they don't, that's the truth of it. And think about how many people you have on your Facebook, in your friends and whatnot, who half of them you don't even know who they are, right?
At the end of the day, you're the only one that can have your back, right? I always say at the end of the day, you're the only one that can have your back. So
That's it. That's
make
it.
your review.
But it was just, to me, it was just like, wow, that to me, it was numb. That's what I saw was, wow, she's gone numb. Like I feel for her, but I'm like, she's really numb.
Yeah.
Because if someone took a picture of me being put into an ambulance, like they took the time, as the crisis is going on, take out their cell phone to do that and post it on Facebook, I'd be a little pissed. Just saying.
Just saying.
Anyway, emotions are running high. Maybe that was judgment on my part, but it wasn't intended to be. But it just made me aware of how lost we can get into social media and
Absolutely.
just constant scrolling and just
numbing yourself with that. Yeah.
Exactly. So just be careful with that and how you react to posts. I mean, once you write it down, my mother always said, don't write it down because you can't take it back. Once it's written down. So when you're texting, when you're talking, when you're emailing, when you're posting, all that kind of stuff, be really aware this month that you have to see it from everybody's perspective before you hit that send button, right? Because emotions are running high right now. And think about your animals too. Your animals are picking up on it as well. They're really, really picking up on the energy around you. So be careful the kind of energy you keep, because everybody on the planet is being affected by the energy you're putting out.
Right.
Includes your home, your animals, and everyone on the planet.
Exactly. So then, even though we say May can be very intense, you still have the choice to make it where it's going to be, it may be intense, but in a way that allows you to transform into the butterfly you're supposed to be. Yep. So use the positive parts of it and use your light, your energy to shine for everybody in a positive way. Absolutely.
Well, and remembering that the energy of the 11 relating to the personal month, or the universal month, the universal month of the 11 is an illuminator. Okay. Double one intensity. It is the illuminator. It is shining a big light, particularly on relationships. So I'm hoping that you're going to look at all of your relationships with maybe a new set of vision, new eyes, through a different lens, if you will, so that maybe if someone's really been irritating you, if you're able to kind of quiet the mind and just look at them, accept them for who they are rather than who you want them to be, maybe you'll see some things that you never saw before. Maybe you'll see some positive things about them that you never ever knew existed. Likewise, if you're in a relationship that really should have ended a long time ago, maybe it's time to really look at that relationship to say, all right, I can see it now, therefore I can act upon it.
Right.
So there's all kinds of positives to this.
Absolutely.
It's just all we're trying to do is prepare you that it's going to be
Yeah.
riding a little high on the sensitivity scale. So just
I
be,
don't think to be able to hide is what it sounds like for me.
yeah, no, you
It's
can't
gonna
hide.
come up and kind of hit you like, hello, we're here and we're working and that's what's happening. So you
That's
might as
it.
well do the work. Yeah.
That's it. Um, so you can check out Susan at www.spiritsandbeyond.com. You can check me out at annperrynumerologist.com. Susan's got some great programs going on. She has a really terrific YouTube channel where she has phenomenal meditations. You need to check them out. Seriously, like they are so beautifully crafted. For every topic you can possibly imagine, she has one there. So you can check out, I've got my Master Number 11 membership, which is now open to everyone. We are expanding this membership big time. We're going to be talking about Akashic Records on April 25th with Annette Dalou from Paris. She's an expert in reading, she's a clairsentient, and she is an expert at reading Akashic Records. So she's going to help us to learn how to access them and how to know that we're talking to our guides and all the good stuff you need to know about Akashic Records. So if you haven't already joined the membership, it's $11 a month or $65 a year for a very short time. So if you join now, you get grandfathered in. That's going to be your price for the rest of your life, right? If you don't join now and you join once we're expanded, it's going to cost you a lot more. So I would encourage you to go and check that out on my website. So thanks, Susan. Really great to see you.
Oh, you're welcome. It's great to be here.
Yeah, so hang tight for May. I'm sure I'll be talking to you during the month, but
Yes.
everybody remember to breathe, right? And become the observers. Don't be reactionary, right? So we want to make sure that you're responding in kind. So have a great month, guys. Take care. Big hug. Love y'all. Bye for now.